Chosen one, listen closely. This is not a random moment. Heaven has paused your scroll because there is a divine word tailored precisely for you. You, the one who has walked through storms others could not survive. You, the one who has cried in secret but still carried yourself as if nothing was wrong. You, the one who felt broken beyond repair. This is your confirmation what the enemy used to break you. God is about to use to announce you. You stand in the ruins, but heaven sees a throne. The ashes you are surrounded by are not the end, they are the material from which crowns are forged. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every unanswered prayer was never meant to destroy you. It was designed to strip away what could not go with you into your next season. You were not being buried, you were being planted. And what is planted must rise. The Spirit whispers, do not despise the breaking, because in that breaking, heaven was building the foundation of your announcement. The crushing, the confusion, the silence, it all carried purpose. You thought God was absent, but He was orchestrating every unseen detail of your rebirth. You see, chosen ones are never revealed without first being broken. Ordinary lives are displayed immediately, but chosen ones, those marked by divine fire, are hidden, processed, and purified until the exact moment of divine unveiling. Your tears were the ink God used to write your announcement. Every rejection was God's way of saying, that door cannot contain the version of you I'm about to release. The enemy's attack was never truly about your past, it was about your potential. He saw the weight of glory resting on your life and tried to shatter it before it manifested. But here's the truth he underestimated: every blow that was meant to silence you only gave your spirit a new frequency. Heaven heard your groans as worship. The earth heard your silence as preparation. So, when you felt unseen, heaven was recording. When you felt forgotten, angels were building the platform of your revelation. And now, time is aligning itself around your name. What was private pain is about to become public proof. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Yes, beloved, He has been closer than you realized. Every sleepless night was attended by His presence. Every sigh was counted as intercession. Nothing you endured was wasted. The God who saw you weep in secret will honor you in the open. Do not let the memory of pain convince you that you are still a victim. The breaking was the announcement in disguise. Heaven allowed certain things to fall apart so that your foundation would no longer depend on people, approval, or applause. It would rest solely on Him. Now, you are stronger, quieter, more discerning. You no longer chase validation, you carry revelation. You no longer ask for acceptance, you stand in assignment. What once wounded you now worships with you. Because even your scars have found purpose. The oil that flows from your life was pressed from the olives of your pain. Chosen one, this is the moment to rise. Heaven's spotlight is shifting toward you, not because you sought fame, but because you remained faithful. The world is about to hear the sound of your survival, and they will call it testimony. You are entering a season where your name will be mentioned in places you never entered, because the King Himself is making the announcement. So lift your head. You are not forgotten, you are featured in Heaven's plan. You are walking out of obscurity into divine visibility. The very story you once hid from will be the story that draws others to healing. That's why the enemy fought so hard to keep you from realizing how powerful your brokenness could become when surrendered to God. Now, before you move, pause. Feel the weight of this confirmation you survived because your assignment is not over. You endured because your voice is still required. And heaven is saying, now, this message reached you not by coincidence but by divine timing. If this word resonates deep within your spirit, if you feel that this was written for your soul, then act in faith. Let your declaration be your agreement with heaven. Like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with this flow of divine revelation. And let others who feel lost know that breaking is not the end, it is the beginning of unveiling. Now, comment this prophetic number below as a sign of your agreement and awakening. 777. Chosen one. Take a breath. The crushing you endured was never punishment, it was purification. The pain you thought would kill you was actually the pressure required to release the fragrance hidden within your spirit. You see, oil does not flow until the olive is crushed. Diamonds are not formed until carbon endures immense pressure. Likewise, your spirit was never meant to remain ordinary. It had to go through divine breaking to reveal its brilliance. Heaven did not abandon you in your suffering. Heaven was watching, waiting, measuring every moment of the weight you could carry. The enemy whispered, "You're finished." But God was saying, "Not yet, it's forming." The crushing wasn't meant to destroy, it was meant to distinguish. While others were running from discomfort, you were being shaped for destiny. You didn't understand why the rejection came, why the delay lingered, why betrayal seemed to hunt you. But now, in the stillness, you begin to see that everything served a divine purpose. The heartbreak sharpened your discernment. The delay developed your patience. The betrayal revealed who was never assigned to your next level. Heaven used what hurt you to heal you. Chosen one. Every vessel God intends to use must first endure the fire. The higher the calling, the deeper the crushing. The process you hate is the very thing proving your readiness. God cannot pour his finest oil into vessels that haven't been purified. That's why you had to lose what you thought you needed. That's why some doors slammed shut, even when you begged them to stay open. Those moments of pain were heaven's classroom. You were never being punished, you were being purified. The crushing pressed out pride, fear, dependency, and self-doubt. It extracted your old identity and infused you with divine strength. And though it hurt, something miraculous was happening. You were learning how to depend completely on God. You were learning that true strength is born in surrender. Chosen one. The world looks at the crushed and calls them broken, but heaven looks at the crushed and calls them ready. You are ready for what's next. Ready to carry the anointing without arrogance. Ready to lead without losing your humility. Ready to stand without striving for attention. The crushing has built within you a quiet authority that cannot be faked, a light that cannot be dimmed, and a peace that cannot be stolen. The Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 8, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair." Do you hear that? Chosen one, you were pressed, but not destroyed. You were confused, but not hopeless. Even when you thought you couldn't take another step, something within you kept breathing, kept believing, kept holding on. That something was the Spirit of God sustaining you. There is a mystery in the crushing that few understand. When the olive is whole, it cannot serve its purpose. Its oil remains trapped within. Only when it is crushed does its essence pour forth. The same is true of you. The pressure revealed the purity of your purpose. Without it, the treasure within you would have remained locked away. God allowed you to be pressed so that generations could be blessed through what flows from your life. You may still feel the aftershock of what you endured, the memories, the scars, the silent tears, but even those are part of the transformation. Every scar on your soul has become a testimony that the oil is real. You no longer speak theory, you carry revelation. You no longer preach about strength, you embody it. Your worship carries weight because it was born from the battlefield, not the comfort zone. Now look back for a moment. Every night you almost gave up. Every day you questioned if it was worth it. Every moment you felt abandoned. All of it converges into this truth: you were never alone. God was there, molding your story into a masterpiece of redemption. When you rise now, you rise differently. The crushing gave you sensitivity to the voice of God. You recognize counterfeit opportunities because you've learned to hear heaven's tone. You discern who truly walks with you because you've walked through the fire and know what authenticity feels like. You are not easily deceived, not easily shaken, because you've already seen the worst and survived it. And here's the divine paradox: the very thing that was supposed to end, you became the evidence that you are chosen. The devil's attack only proved your value. You are still standing because destiny demanded it. Chosen one. Don't despise the season that broke you. Embrace it as the divine forge that shaped your strength. Your crushing was not the end of your story. It was the moment heaven began writing a new chapter. The oil now flows. The fragrance now fills the air. And the world is about to know what heaven already proclaimed: you were never ordinary. You are chosen, purified, and prepared. Chosen one. Do you remember the silence, the nights when heaven seemed mute? When every prayer echoed back to you like unanswered mail, you asked, "God, where are you?" But all you heard was stillness. You searched the skies for signs, yet the heavens stayed quiet. That silence was not rejection, it was strategy. God's stillness was not his absence, it was his shaping. The silence of heaven is one of the greatest tests of the chosen. It reveals what kind of faith you truly carry. Anyone can praise when the answer comes quickly, but the chosen learn to worship in the waiting. They learn to hold peace when heaven withholds explanation. You, beloved, were being trained in the divine language of stillness. You see, when heaven goes silent, the heart becomes the classroom. In that sacred quiet, you learned how to listen beyond words, how to feel his direction through peace instead of proof. You discovered that true faith is not built on what you hear, it's built on who you trust. God's silence taught you to recognize his presence in new ways, in the pause between tears, in the whisper of wind through your window, in the strength that showed up when you thought you had none left. Chosen one. Silence does not mean God stopped speaking, it means he's already said enough. There are seasons when heaven allows the noise of the world to fade so that you can finally hear the echo of his last instruction. You were begging for new answers, but God was waiting for obedience to the previous word. And while you wept, thinking you'd been forgotten, angels were standing guard over your purpose. Heaven was rearranging circumstances. removing distractions, and softening your heart. Silence was not punishment, it was preparation. It was the refining room where your emotions learned to bow to faith. Think of the prophets, how many of them faced long silences between promises and fulfillment. Joseph sat in a prison cell with no updates from heaven. David wandered caves while waiting for his crown. Even Jesus himself stood silent before his accusers. If heaven can trust you with silence, heaven can trust you with power. There's a holy weight to stillness. It presses you to confront your own voice, the doubts, the impatience, the fear. But in confronting them, you learn something sacred. God's silence is never empty. It is heavy with intent, thick with unseen work. While you thought nothing was happening, heaven was constructing the foundation beneath your future. The Spirit reminds us through the writings in the Psalms. Chapter 46, verse 10, "Be still, and know that I am God." There it is, the mystery of stillness unlocked. You are not asked to understand the silence, you are asked to know. Knowing means resting, trusting, believing that the one who began the good work is still at the wheel. It means understanding that silence is often the loudest sign that heaven is moving on your behalf. The silence was training your ear to hear whispers, because shouts will come later when the announcement arrives. It was teaching you patience, because destiny delayed is not destiny denied. You may not have realized it then, but heaven was preparing you for the moment when your voice would matter. Chosen one. Silence was sculpting your sound. The pain of unanswered prayers became the echo of compassion in your words. The loneliness you felt is now the reason your presence heals others. The questions you carried birthed the wisdom you now speak with authority. Heaven used silence as a chisel, carving humility and depth into your spirit. Do you see now? The quiet was never a void, it was a womb. You were being reborn into someone who could no longer be swayed by emotion or fear. You were being prepared to move not by what you see or hear, but by what you know in your spirit. And now, the silence begins to break. You're starting to hear his voice again, clearer, deeper, stronger. The same silence that once tormented you has now become the sanctuary where you meet God face to face. So when you look back, thank him for the quiet. Thank him for every unanswered question, every pause, every delay. Because now you see, without that stillness, you would never have discovered his presence dwelling within you. This is the power of the chosen. You emerge from silence, not empty, but overflowing. You don't just speak words anymore, you release atmospheres. You don't just pray prayers, you shift seasons. The silence forged you into a vessel that carries divine weight. Now, if this message resonates deep within your spirit, if you recognize that heaven has been shaping you even through the silence, declare your agreement below. Comment these words as your seal of understanding and surrender, "I am listening." When you type it, you're not just writing words, you're aligning your spirit with heaven's frequency. You're saying, "Lord, even when you are quiet, I will stay still. Even when I don't hear you, I will trust you." That simple declaration marks the moment your silence becomes song. Chosen one. Do you remember how rejection felt like a wound that would never close? How the no's echoed louder than any promise? You tried to understand why doors kept slamming shut. Why the people you trusted turned their backs. Why love seemed to evaporate right when you needed it most. What you didn't know then was that heaven was using rejection as divine redirection. Every closed door was not meant to humiliate you, it was meant to reroute you. God saw where those roads would end. And because you are chosen, He refused to let you settle for lesser things. You thought it was failure. Heaven called it protection. You thought they walked away because you weren't enough. But in truth, they left because your light was growing too bright for their comfort. Some exits were not betrayals, they were blessings wearing the disguise of pain. Rejection is the language of redirection. It means heaven has better coordinates for your destiny. When you were begging certain people to stay, God was already writing in new names, new alignments, new assignments. Every no was God whispering, "Wait, you're going the wrong way." But because we often mistake comfort for calling, God sometimes must remove what feels safe to reveal what is sacred. Chosen one. Look back. The job that didn't hire you. The friend who betrayed you. The relationship that collapsed, all of them pushed you closer to divine positioning. Without those losses, you would still be standing in places that could not sustain your purpose. You would still be trying to blend in when heaven designed you to stand out. When rejection came, it felt cruel. But now, standing where you are, you can see that every detour was part of heaven's navigation. What you called delay was actually direction. What you thought was abandonment was alignment. Even the tears you shed were watering the soil of your next level. Chosen one. Understand this. The enemy often uses rejection to convince you that you are forgotten. But God allows rejection to convince you that you are chosen. The devil says, "You're unwanted." God says, "You're set apart." The two voices sound similar in the moment of pain, but their destinations are entirely different. One seeks to bury you in shame, the other is preparing you for elevation. Sometimes God must let people misjudge you so that He can move you without explanation. If everyone understood what He was doing, they would try to stop it. That's why He let them misunderstand your silence, misinterpret your kindness, and mock your faith. Their rejection became the seal of your divine promotion. You didn't lose status, you were repositioned for destiny. The Spirit reminds us through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 118, verse 22. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Yes, beloved, that's you, the stone once cast aside, now chosen as the foundation. The very people who dismissed you will have to witness your rise. They thought you were finished, but heaven was just getting started. God delights in turning rejected stones into royal pillars. Every chosen one experiences this reversal. Joseph was rejected by his brothers, sold as a slave, and forgotten in a dungeon, but he rose to rule Egypt. David was left tending sheep when the prophet came looking for a king, but the oil refused to flow until he entered the room. Esther was an orphan, overlooked and unwanted, but heaven positioned her as queen to save a nation. Rejection does not erase calling, it refines it. You see, when people reject you, they unknowingly release you from limitation. They make room for those who will honor your anointing instead of exploiting it. The ones who mocked your dreams could not see the magnitude of what God was forming in you. But God saw it, and that was enough. Chosen one. Stop trying to reopen doors God locked for your protection. Stop mourning relationships that were never meant to follow you into this season. You are entering a time when divine connections will recognize you instantly. People who speak your spiritual language, who see your worth without proof, who strengthen your calling instead of draining your soul. You no longer have to beg for a seat at tables that were never built for you. God is preparing your own table. And when it is ready, He will seat you among kings, mentors, and destiny partners. The rejection of man has positioned you for the recognition of heaven. What the enemy meant for humiliation will become your elevation. You will soon see that every person who walked away was part of a divine rearrangement. God did not remove them to hurt you. He removed them to make space for the greater glory He planned to release through you. So, lift your head. Chosen one, wipe away the memory of rejection. You are being redirected to places that fit your spiritual stature. Every delay, every disappointment, every departure has been heaven's way of saying, "You're going higher." The map of your destiny is being redrawn, and the coordinates now lead straight to purpose. You are not lost. You are aligned. You are not forgotten. You are hidden until heaven decides to reveal you. The same rejection that broke your heart will soon be the reason you rise with authority. And when you stand in the place of your divine unveiling, you will look back and say, "Now I understand every no was guiding me to my greater yes." Chosen one. Sometimes heaven moves in interruptions, not schedules. Just when you thought the story was over, when you were certain the curtain had fallen and the lights had dimmed, God steps into the scene and rewrites everything. Divine interruptions rarely come with warning. They arrive disguised as inconvenience. Yet they carry heaven's fingerprints. You were standing at the edge of surrender, whispering, "Maybe this is where it ends." But heaven whispered back, "No, this is where it begins." That's how divine announcements often arrive in the middle of endings. You see, heaven never asks permission to interrupt despair. God doesn't wait for the perfect time. He creates it. One divine whisper can shift decades of delay. One act of obedience can summon destiny from dormancy. You may not have seen the shift coming, but it was written in eternity before you were born. When you were weeping, heaven was working. When you thought your prayers had expired, they were still alive, circling the throne like incense, waiting for divine timing to break open. You thought you missed your moment, but God was merely rearranging the stage, because what He plans to announce about you requires perfect alignment, like stars forming a constellation. Every piece of your pain has found its position in His design. The Spirit reveals through the book of Genesis, chapter 18, verse 14, "At the time I have appointed, I will return to you." Heaven is faithful to its schedule, even when it disrupts yours. The time of divine return is never late. It simply moves to the rhythm of purpose, not pressure. God waited until Abraham and Sarah's bodies were beyond natural possibility, so that no one could claim the miracle as their own. Likewise, He allowed your situation to seem hopeless, so that when breakthrough came, everyone would know it was God. Chosen one. Heaven's interruptions are mercy in motion. They invade the timeline of your pain and rewrite it with promise. You've been standing at the intersection of exhaustion and expectation, unsure if faith still fits in your story. But this moment right here is your divine interruption. When heaven decides to speak, everything stops to listen. Time bends. Circumstances shift. The atmosphere trembles. The voice of God is not a whisper of chance. It's the roar of destiny, declaring, "It's your turn." Maybe you feel unworthy, unprepared, or unseen. But the very fact that you're hearing these words means heaven has already chosen you for announcement. You are standing on sacred ground, the space between what was and what's about to be. Think of divine interruptions like the sunrise. The night doesn't end because darkness decides to leave. It ends because light simply appears. Your situation doesn't need permission to change. It needs divine light to touch it. And that light is arriving. Chosen one. Heaven is calling your name. Not the version others labeled you as. Not the one shame tried to silence. But the one written in the Lamb's book before time began. Heaven's announcement is not a public performance, it's a prophetic unveiling. What the enemy used to break you will now become the very reason heaven broadcasts your testimony. Now, as this word reaches your heart, pause and let it sink in. You are being reintroduced to the world by the same God who walked you through fire without letting it consume you. You are about to step into visibility, not for fame, but for fulfillment. And when that moment comes, when God opens doors that no man can close, remember, this divine interruptions are never one-way blessings. They ripple outward. They bless others through your obedience. They multiply hope in the hearts of those still waiting. That is why, chosen one, we walk together in this flow of revelation. If these words have poured light into your darkness, if you felt heaven whisper through every sentence, then let your response be part of the ripple. Like a candle touching another, light spreads when shared. Take a moment to let gratitude become action. Like, because every click carries light farther. Share, because someone else is still standing in the storm you just survived. Subscribe, because connection strengthens the flow of faith. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do it not out of obligation, but as worship, a seed sown into the soil of testimony. Every act of giving, every small gesture, becomes a beam of light that fuels this mission to awaken more chosen ones across the world. Think of it like tending a lighthouse. Your support keeps the flame burning for others still lost at sea. Together, we make sure no chosen one forgets that breaking is not the end, it is the beginning of becoming. Heaven interrupted your despair today to remind you of that truth. You are not forgotten, not forsaken, not finished. You are being called, revealed, and reintroduced under the light of divine timing. The story is shifting, and your name is on heaven's lips. Chosen one. Look at your hands for a moment, the ones that once trembled in weakness. They carry the memory of pain, yet within them lies proof of victory. The same hands that once wiped away tears will soon hold blessings you could never have imagined. You thought your wounds disqualified you, but heaven is revealing something sacred. What once wounded you has now become your weapon. Every scar on your spirit is an imprint of survival. Each one tells the story of where the enemy tried to end you and failed. You didn't come through the fire empty, you came through carrying fire. The pain you endured did not destroy you, it trained you. The tears that fell like rivers watered the soil of strength within you. Chosen one, your wounds are not a source of shame, they are the evidence of grace. You have walked through betrayal, heartbreak, and loss. Yet here you are, still believing, still standing, still breathing. That is no small thing. Heaven celebrates survivors who refuse to let bitterness steal their light. The prophet Isaiah wrote these words that still echo through time. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 5, "By his wounds we are healed." When Christ showed his scars to his disciples, he didn't hide them. He used them as proof. The wounds became his testimony. Likewise, your scars are no longer symbols of defeat. They are signatures of divine healing. The places that once bled now glow. The areas of your soul that once hurt now carry healing for others. You see, God never wastes pain. What the enemy used to weaken you, God has repurposed as your greatest weapon. Your compassion was born from what you survived. Your discernment was sharpened by what tried to deceive you. Your authority was shaped in the very valley that tried to bury you. Every dark night carved strength into your soul that daylight could never teach. Chosen one, there's power in owning your story. You no longer have to hide where you came from. The moments you thought would break, you are now the very moments that make others believe again. You are a living sermon wrapped in scars and grace. Heaven has a way of flipping the script. The very pain you tried to pray away has become the platform of your purpose. You prayed, "God, take it away." But he answered, "No, I will transform it." What was once your weakness now carries weight in the spirit. What was once your pain now speaks prophecy. The wounds have turned to weapons, not weapons of vengeance, but of victory. You now fight for others with the wisdom you gained from your own battles. You intercede with compassion because you've been in their place. You don't just speak hope, you are hope. And the enemy, oh, how he trembles now, because he realizes that every time he tried to wound you, he only forged a new sword for you to wield. The trials he sent made you unshakable. The pain he intended for evil became the very training ground for your calling. Chosen one, never forget this truth. Healed wounds are heaven's most dangerous weapons. They carry both story and strength. When you speak from a scar, you release authenticity that pierces through pretense. People can argue with your theology, but they cannot argue with your testimony. Your life has become living evidence that God restores what the enemy ruins. Now you walk differently. You move with quiet authority, not arrogance. You understand the language of pain and the rhythm of redemption. When others crumble, you stand, not because you are stronger, but because you know who carried you through the fire. Look again at your scars. They are the fingerprints of God's faithfulness. You survived what was meant to silence you. You carry proof that grace works. And now heaven is asking you to step into your assignment fully armed, fully healed, fully awake. Do not hide your scars anymore. Let them speak. Let them shine. Because someone, somewhere, is waiting for your story to give them courage for their own. Chosen one, this is your moment to declare that pain no longer owns you, it empowers you. Heaven is watching for your agreement, for your bold acknowledgement that you are not the same as you were before. You have graduated from victim to victor, from wounded to warrior, from broken to builder. If this truth resonates deep within your soul, if you can feel the fire of recognition burning inside, then seal this revelation in faith. Type this prophetic number below as a sign that you have turned your wounds into weapons, and that your healing has become your strength. 888. This number carries the vibration of new beginnings and divine resurrection. It declares that you have stepped into the fullness of restored power. When you comment it, you are not just writing digits, you are releasing declaration. You are saying to heaven, I am ready for the new chapter that my healing has prepared me for. Your scars no longer whisper pain, they roar purpose. Chosen one. You have begun to feel it, the unseen weight pressing gently but persistently upon your shoulders. It is not anxiety, not fear. It is the weight of the mantle. Every chosen one knows this sacred heaviness, for it is the evidence of calling. The mantle does not fall upon the unprepared, it rests on those who have walked through refining fire. At first, it feels too heavy. You wonder why peace feels like pressure, why favor feels like responsibility, why success carries so much stillness. But this is the paradox of divine purpose before God gives you authority. He gives you weight. That weight humbles you. It reminds you that crowns are not ornaments of comfort, they are assignments of sacrifice. You are learning that being chosen means being trusted with what others avoid. You carry intercession for those who cannot yet pray. You feel burdens that others overlook. You see warfare in places where others see coincidence. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is divine sensitivity. Heaven stretches your capacity so that you can hold more of its heart. The apostle recorded these words that echo through time. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verse 48, to whom much is given, much will be required. Those words are not a warning, they are a seal. They remind you that you are not simply blessed, you are burdened with purpose. The anointing that flows through you must first weigh upon you, and though the weight feels impossible at times, it is also the proof that heaven has trusted you with something eternal. Think of Elijah passing his mantle to Elisha. That cloth was not simply fabric, it was a living symbol of responsibility, authority, and divine continuity. When Elisha received it, he didn't celebrate immediately, he tore his old garments. He understood that mantles demand transformation. Likewise, when you accepted your calling, something within you was torn. The old identity could no longer remain. Chosen one. The weight you feel is not meant to crush, it is meant to anchor. It keeps you grounded when applause tempts pride, and keeps you steady when storms provoke fear. Without that weight, you would drift. With it, you are balanced in the wind of destiny. You've noticed it already, things that used to entertain you no longer satisfy. Conversations that once felt harmless now feel heavy. Environments that once seemed comfortable now feel constricting. That's not isolation, that's elevation. When the mantle grows, it changes what your spirit can tolerate. You are being separated for greater things. Do not resent the loneliness that comes with calling. Every mantle is tailor-made, and few can understand the price it carries. While others are sleeping, you are interceding. While others are building platforms, you are building altars. Heaven does not call the crowd, it calls the consecrated. You are one of them. And yes, there are moments when you question the fairness of it. You ask why your road seems steeper, why your peace costs more, why your process takes longer. But heaven answers softly because your mantle carries nations, not moments. You are not being delayed, you are being detailed. Every trial teaches precision. Every pause teaches patience. Every surrender teaches strength. The weight also brings authority, spiritual authority that cannot be imitated or purchased. It flows from experience, from the crushed places in your past that now release wisdom. That's why, when you speak, atmospheres shift, not because you are loud, but because your words have been baptized in pain and resurrected in faith. Chosen one. Carry this truth deep within you. The mantle may be heavy, but it is holy. It requires both humility and honor. Do not wear it casually, and do not apologize for it. You were chosen because heaven knew you could handle it. Others may see the glow of favor, but only you know the groan of responsibility. There will be moments when you feel weary under its weight. When that happens, remember this: mantles are not meant to be carried by strength alone, they are sustained by surrender. The moment you stop striving to hold it yourself and allow God to hold it through you, the burden becomes light. Chosen one, your shoulders were shaped by storms so they could bear the mantle of light. What once felt crushing will soon feel natural. The call that once frightened you will become your rhythm of peace. You will move under that mantle with grace, not strain, with wisdom, not weariness. So walk forward with reverence. Let the mantle rest. Let it remind you that heaven trusts you. You are not just wearing purpose, you are carrying heaven's heart upon your shoulders. And as long as you walk in obedience, that weight will not break you. It will build you into everything you were born to be. Chosen one. Every story that heaven writes includes a chapter where the enemy's lies seem louder than God's promises. You have lived through that chapter. You have heard words that cut deeper than knives, whispers that tried to undo the truth of who you are. There were people who looked at you through the lens of your past and mistook your process for punishment. They called you lost when you were being led. They said you were finished when you were only being refined. But now, heaven is peeling back the veil. The enemy's report is being exposed for what it truly is, a desperate attempt to distort destiny. The moment God marks someone for greatness, the enemy begins a campaign of misinformation. He cannot change your future, so he tries to rewrite your identity. He uses rumor as weapon, rejection as seed, and shame as shadow. Yet every accusation that was spoken over you is about to become a divine advertisement for your breakthrough. You see, chosen one, lies have expiration dates. Truth does not. Time has been quietly fighting on your behalf. While you were busy surviving, heaven was recording every false word, every attempt to bury your name, every misunderstanding. It has all been documented. And the time of reversal has arrived. There is power in exposure. But divine exposure is never about revenge, it's about revelation. God is not in the business of humiliating people. He is in the business of exalting truth. And the truth is this: the same mouth that cursed you will soon have to confess that grace was on you all along. The prophet Isaiah declares in the sacred texts. Chapter 54, verse 17, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." That promise is not poetic, it is prophetic. It means that the weapons may form, but they will fail. The lies may travel, but they will crumble. The accusations may rise, but they will evaporate in the light of revelation. What the enemy thought would be your ending is being repurposed as your introduction. Chosen one, think back to the seasons when you tried to explain yourself, when you felt the weight of proving your purity or defending your name. Heaven was whispering, "Stay silent. I am your witness." And though you didn't understand it then, silence became your greatest strategy. Because while you were quiet, God was speaking to hearts behind closed doors. While you bowed your head, He was lifting your reputation. There is a law in heaven that the enemy cannot overturn. Truth always resurfaces, just as gold rises to the top when refined by fire. Your authenticity cannot stay buried. You were never meant to compete with lies, you were meant to outlast them. The more they spoke, the more heaven prepared your stage. The more they mocked, the higher God positioned you. And when the unveiling begins, it will not be loud. It will be calm, radiant, undeniable. The same people who once doubted you will have to testify about your transformation. The very environments that dismissed you will become witnesses of your elevation. Heaven will make sure your vindication is visible not for your ego, but for His glory. Chosen one, understand this mystery when God defends you. He doesn't just silence your enemies, He promotes you in their presence. Vindication is not about words, it's about fruit. The blessing that flows through your obedience will be so evident that it will correct every false report without you having to utter a sound. The enemy's report is being overturned even now. Every lie spoken in secret is dissolving in the light of your authenticity. The gossip that once wounded you is being replaced with grace that will astound you. Heaven is rewriting the narrative line by line, restoring your name where it was misused, and raising your voice where it was silenced. This exposure, though divine, comes with responsibility. Walk in humility when truth vindicates you. Do not gloat over those who once misunderstood you. Mercy must remain your response, because that is how heaven's justice operates. You are not called to prove you were right. You are called to reveal that God was faithful. Soon, you will notice the shift. Conversations will change. Opportunities that once ignored you will start seeking you. The same people who overlooked you will begin asking for your wisdom. That is the beauty of divine reversal. It requires no announcement. The evidence becomes its own testimony. Chosen one, your story is safe in the hands of God. Every false report, every misunderstanding, every silent accusation, they are dissolving in the fire of divine truth. Stand still and watch the reversal unfold. You do not have to chase explanation, you only have to carry integrity. The truth is working on your behalf. You will not need to defend your name, for heaven has already cleared it. You will not need to prove your value, for fruit will reveal it. The enemy's report has expired, and your true identity has been restored. The stage that was once used for mockery will now be the platform for your announcement. Chosen one, you have walked through silence, rejection, and warfare, but now you stand at the threshold of obedience. All of heaven leans forward, waiting to see what you will do next, because obedience, not talent or title, is what unlocks divine announcements. Every miracle you've read about in Scripture was birthed by one simple act someone obeyed. Obedience is the bridge between prophecy and fulfillment. It is the moment when faith stops being theory and becomes movement. You have already survived the breaking. You have endured the crushing. And now heaven whispers, will you obey? The Spirit spoke through the prophet Samuel in the sacred text of 1 Samuel, chapter 15, verse 22. To obey is better than sacrifice. Those words echo through generations because they reveal something profound. God values trust more than performance. You could give everything. You could work endlessly, but without obedience, it is noise. Heaven does not measure greatness by how much we do for God, but by how fully we follow Him. Chosen one, obedience does not always look glamorous. Sometimes it means walking away when your heart still wants to stay. Sometimes it means forgiving those who never said sorry. Sometimes it means starting again after the failure that humiliated you. But every act of obedience, no matter how small, sends a tremor through the spiritual realm. Angels move, demons retreat, doors shift. You have been through seasons where obedience felt costly. You said yes while trembling. You stepped out when no one clapped. But what you didn't know was that heaven was recording each moment of faith. Every silent yes built the foundation for your public elevation. God never wastes obedience. He multiplies it. There's a rhythm to heaven's reward. First comes the instruction, then the resistance, then the release. The instruction tests your trust. The resistance strengthens your faith. And when both are complete, the release arrives. That's why obedience often feels like walking blindfolded through fog. Only later do you realize that God was clearing the path with every step you took. Chosen one, do not underestimate what one act of obedience can birth. Noah's yes saved a generation. Abraham's yes birthed a covenant. Mary's yes carried the Savior of the world. Your yes, too, carries nations inside it. There are lives attached to your obedience, souls waiting on the other side of your surrender. But the enemy knows this. That is why he attacks your obedience more than your blessing. He cannot stop what God has planned. So he distracts you from stepping into it. He uses fear, delay, and doubt to make obedience seem impossible. Yet here is the secret: obedience doesn't require full understanding, only full trust. God never asked you to figure it out. He asked you to follow. And when you move, even trembling, heaven moves with you. You will find that every step of obedience carries supernatural strength. It's not your effort that sustains you, it's grace. Chosen one, this is your defining moment. Heaven is about to amplify your yes. Every instruction you've delayed obeying, this is the time. Forgive, start, release, speak, build. Whatever God has whispered in your spirit, do it now. Delay is the language of disobedience, and you have already waited long enough. The next door opens not by striving, but by surrender. The sound of your obedience will announce you louder than any platform ever could. When heaven sees you act on what he said, it will broadcast your name to the right people, in the right places, at the right time. You won't have to network or manipulate. Obedience will introduce you. Remember, the oil flows only on the obedient. When Samuel anointed David, it wasn't because David was perfect, it was because David was available. Heaven chooses availability over ability. And you, chosen one, have been made ready through the fire for this very moment. Let this sink in. Obedience is not a burden, it is a shortcut. It bypasses confusion and fast-tracks destiny. Each step you take in faith draws divine favor closer. And soon, your life will preach louder than any sermon. Now, pause for a moment. Feel what is stirring within you. The same voice that sustained you through storms is calling for one more yes. The world is about to witness what happens when a chosen one finally moves without hesitation. If this word confirms what heaven has been whispering to your soul, seal it now with your declaration of faith. Comment these simple words below: I will obey. When you type it, you are doing more than commenting. You are crossing a threshold. You are agreeing with heaven's timeline. You are saying, Lord, I trust you beyond what I see. That single act of obedience, even in writing, carries prophetic weight. Because in the kingdom of God, agreement is activation. Chosen one, your yes will echo through eternity. Chosen one. Destiny has a strange sense of direction. It often leads you back to the very ground where you once wept. That same floor where you knelt in defeat is about to become holy ground. The place where you cried until your voice broke will soon echo with laughter that only heaven could compose. God has a divine habit of transforming the battlefield into the coronation ground. You thought your tears were signs of weakness, but they were water for the seed of glory. You thought the soil of that pain was cursed, yet heaven was fertilizing it with purpose. Every sob, every sleepless night, every moment you whispered, "Why me?" they have not been forgotten. Those tears did not disappear into darkness. They seeped into eternity and became liquid prayers that heaven now answers in light. The psalmist wrote in the sacred scroll of the Psalms, chapter 126, verse 5, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." Chosen one, you sowed through suffering. You kept giving, believing, forgiving, and pressing forward when others retreated. You didn't realize that each act of endurance was a seed of joy waiting for its appointed harvest. Now the ground is trembling, your harvest is near. The very place that held your pain will now host your promotion. The people who once pitied you will stand amazed at the strength that radiates from you. The God who watched you weep in private is preparing to honor you in public. The sound of weeping is shifting into the sound of worship. Imagine a seed buried beneath the earth. To the casual eye, it looks forgotten, suffocated in darkness. But underground, life is stirring, roots are forming, strength is building, and when the time is right, that seed breaks through the soil, proof that darkness was never death, only development. That is your story. Chosen one, you were not buried, you were planted. Your crown is rising from the same dust that once felt like your grave. Heaven is repurposing your sorrow into substance. What once broke you will now build others through you. You will stand in the same place where you once fell. But this time, you will stand crowned not with pride, but with purpose. And when that moment arrives, don't forget the journey that shaped you. The crown may sparkle, but its shine is only beautiful because of the tears that polished it. Let every glimmer remind you that glory is never earned, it's entrusted. Chosen one, as you receive this word, feel heaven's compassion leaning close. There is beauty unfolding in your ashes. There is melody forming in your pain. And as you rise, remember, you are not rising alone. Every time you share your light, someone else finds the courage to rise too. That is why these words flow to you and through you. This is more than content, it's communion. Every message you hear, every revelation that awakens your spirit, is part of a divine ripple meant to reach others still sitting in silence. If these words have breathed strength into your heart, then let that gratitude become light for someone else. When you like this message, you aren't just clicking a button, you are sending a signal of faith through the digital winds, helping the next weary soul find hope. When you share, you act as a bridge, allowing someone still in the valley to see that joy is possible again. When you subscribe, you're not following a channel, you're choosing to stay within a flow of ongoing encouragement. A family of faith that grows together through truth. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do it not as payment, but as partnership. Imagine your gift as oil poured on a lamp, keeping it burning through the long night. Every seed sown helps these words travel farther, touching the hearts of those who may be standing on the edge of giving up. Your generosity becomes a quiet miracle in someone else's midnight. Chosen one. This is how heaven multiplies hope through vessels like you. You are not just a receiver of the message, you are part of its continuation. Just as rivers don't keep water to themselves, neither do hearts filled with light. They overflow. So stand tall in the place that once held your sorrow. Walk boldly where you once crawled in pain. The ground remembers your tears, and now it will bloom beneath your feet. What once broke you will now announce you, because God always returns his chosen ones to the scene of their greatest pain, only this time crowned. And as you rise, let others rise with you. Let your testimony echo, your compassion extend, and your heart remain open. Because crowns are never meant to sit still, they are meant to shine light in every direction. Chosen one. Heaven delights in reversals. The same table where your name was mocked is being rebuilt by the hands of mercy. And this time, you will sit at it in peace. You are stepping into a season of quiet vindication. The war is not over because you fought harder. It is over because grace has spoken louder. There is a banquet being prepared, but not behind closed doors. It will unfold in the open. This is the mystery of divine justice. God does not remove the presence of your enemies. He redeems it. He keeps them near long enough to witness his favor over your life. He turns the theater of humiliation into the stage of honor. You remember how those moments felt: the gossip, the betrayal, the whispers that circled behind your back. You wanted to defend yourself, to shout the truth, but heaven whispered, "Stay silent." You obeyed. Even through tears, you let time and truth do their work. Now that quiet obedience becomes your greatest testimony. What you could not explain then, God is about to demonstrate now. The same people who questioned your value will soon have to acknowledge your resilience. The same ones who pushed you aside will find themselves seated in the audience of your rising. That is the beauty of divine tables. They are not built for revenge, but revelation. The writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 23, verse 5. Proclaim, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." That verse is more than comfort. It is a covenant. It means that God's blessings are not private rewards, they are public reminders that grace wins every battle. The table represents more than food. It represents restoration, recognition, and rest. It is where heaven invites you to sit, not as a survivor, but as royalty. Chosen one. You are entering that moment of stillness when the battle-scarred warrior finally sits to eat, and heaven serves vindication like wine. You will no longer feast on sorrow but on strength. You will no longer drink bitterness but joy. The bitterness of your past will be the sweetness of your testimony. And yet, do not let victory make you arrogant. Divine tables test humility as much as warfare tests endurance. When the meal of restoration is served, eat it with gratitude, not pride, because the same God who brought you through the valley is the one who now seats you among kings. This table is sacred. It is not a reward for perfection, but a celebration of perseverance. Every time you forgave when you could have retaliated, a chair was being carved for you. Every time you prayed for those who wronged you, another dish was added to your table. Mercy is the fragrance of this feast. The table is not just for you, it's for those who need to see what redemption looks like. They will see a version of you they never believed existed, healed, a whole, radiant. And in that sight, even your enemies will be invited to peace. That is the highest form of victory, not to destroy them, but to disarm them with grace. Chosen one. This is also a moment of healing for your soul. You have carried invisible wounds, the sting of words and the ache of betrayal. Now, as you sit at the table, heaven will anoint those wounds with peace. The meal before you is not just physical, it is spiritual nourishment. It will restore the parts of you that exhaustion and heartbreak drained. As you dine in God's presence, notice how still everything becomes. The noise fades. The striving ceases. It is here, in this holy quiet, that you realize you no longer need to prove anything. You no longer need validation. You are seated because you are chosen, not because you earned it. Look around that table in your spirit. There are plates of peace, cups of courage, bowls of laughter, and bread of new beginnings. Everything the enemy tried to steal joy. Rest. Dignity is now being returned in abundance. The same valley that once broke your heart has become the dining hall of your destiny. You walked through the shadows, but they were only leading you here to communion, to rest, to renewal. And though others may have doubted you, heaven never did. Every step of that painful journey was guiding you to this place of divine fulfillment. You are not eating in haste anymore, you are dining in honor. You are not running from battles, you are resting in victory. Chosen one. Remember this, the table is not the end, it is the turning point. From this place of peace, new missions will emerge, new songs will rise, and new grace will flow. You eat today not to end the journey, but to gather strength for what's ahead. Let gratitude fill your heart as you lift your head from the valley floor. The table is ready, the cup overflows, and the King himself has pulled out your chair. Chosen one. You can feel it in your spirit, the rhythm of divine timing. Something sacred is aligning around you. What once seemed delayed is now accelerating. What once felt stuck is beginning to shift. Heaven has been turning the pages of your story slowly, deliberately. And now, the next chapter begins. For so long you have lived in almost free, almost healed, almost ready. But heaven whispers, now is the fullness of time. You have endured the waiting season, the testing season, and the pruning season. Each one had purpose. Every delay was designed to strengthen your discernment. Every closed door was God's way of ensuring that you arrived mature, not merely present. This is the hour of prophetic completion. The threads of your pain and the strands of your patience are weaving together into something whole. Heaven is sealing what once was fragmented. You are about to walk into the manifestation of promises spoken long ago, not because you forced them, but because you waited with faith. The Apostle Paul reminds us in his letter to the Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion." That promise is your anchor. It declares that God does not abandon what he starts. He is a finisher as much as he is a creator. The same hands that began shaping your story are now perfecting it. The same voice that called you years ago is now calling you higher, declaring that the season of in progress is turning into the season of fulfilled. Chosen one. Look back for a moment and trace the pattern. The detours that confused you, were actually highways of preparation. The heartbreaks that humbled you became anchors of wisdom. The prayers that felt unanswered were simply maturing underground. God has been composing something too intricate to rush. Completion in heaven's language is not about endings, it's about fulfillment. It means that the cycle of waiting closes so a new rhythm can begin. It means that the lesson has taken root so the harvest can now appear. What felt like delay was development. What seemed like silence was strategy. You may not realize it, but you have been carrying a spiritual pregnancy. The contractions you felt, pressure, discomfort, stretching, were signs that what you carried was almost due. And now, heaven says, push. The time of delivery has come. Chosen one. Everything around you will begin to confirm this. Small coincidences will become divine signals. You'll hear phrases, see numbers, encounter reminders that seem impossible to ignore. That's how heaven marks moments of transition. It's God's way of whispering, the fullness of time has come. The waiting wasn't punishment, it was precision. Heaven's calendar never runs late. You didn't miss your moment. Your moment has been maturing. So, breathe. Let the old striving fade away. You no longer need to chase or force anything. What belongs to you will find you not because of luck, but because of alignment. The same spirit that guided you through wilderness is now guiding you into wonder. Completion also brings clarity. Suddenly, you will understand why certain people had to leave, why certain prayers weren't answered the way you expected, why certain doors remained locked. Every puzzle piece will start to fit. You'll see that what looked like chaos was actually choreography. God was orchestrating your breakthrough with precision only heaven understands. Chosen one. This is also a season of unveiling. You are stepping out of the hidden room into the appointed place. Heaven is amplifying your voice and settling your destiny. You are not entering this next phase as the broken version of yourself. You are entering as the rebuilt one, the one who carries wisdom, maturity, and power forged through patience. This moment is holy. It is the finishing touch of a long season of molding. You are the clay that finally fits the shape of the potter's intention. And when he looks at you now, he says, "It is good." If this word resonates in your spirit, if you feel the confirmation pulsing within you, the sense that everything you have endured was leading to this, then let your response become your agreement with heaven's timing. Comment this prophetic number below: 9,999. This number symbolizes divine completion, multiplied cycles closing, purposes fulfilled, and destinies crowned. It marks the shift from endurance to enjoyment, from waiting to walking. When you type it, you are declaring, "I receive the fullness of what God began in me." Chosen one. This is not the end of your story. It is the perfecting of it. What God started in brokenness is now being completed in brilliance. Stand still and see what He does next. The masterpiece is finished, and the unveiling begins. Chosen one. There is a sound rising from within you, one that the earth has been waiting to hear. It is not merely a song, nor is it just your voice. It is the vibration of destiny awakening. For too long, you have been silent, your power muffled by fear, your truth buried beneath the ashes of disappointment. But heaven is stirring your spirit, and the sound of your rising is beginning to echo across realms. You may not recognize it yet, but every chosen one carries a sound. It is the resonance of your assignment, the frequency of your faith. It's not measured in decibels but in obedience. When you speak truth, when you walk in purpose, when you refuse to bow to darkness, that sound travels farther than any microphone could carry it. The prophet Isaiah declared in the sacred book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." That command is more than poetic, it's prophetic. To arise is not just to stand, it is to awaken. To shine is not to seek attention, but to release the light you've been guarding inside. You were never meant to blend into the silence. You were meant to shift the atmosphere. The sound of your rising is heaven's announcement that the darkness has lost its claim over you. Chosen one, you have endured seasons where your voice was silenced by doubt, by trauma, by betrayal. You learned to whisper prayers instead of declaring promises. But now, the silence has completed its work. It has taught you how to hear the subtle frequencies of heaven, how to discern truth even in stillness. Now you speak not from emotion, but from revelation. When you open your mouth this time, it won't just be words, it will be sound charged with authority. It will pierce through confusion. It will shake sleeping spirits awake. Your sound carries deliverance because it was forged in pain. It carries wisdom because it was refined by loss. And it carries power because it has been purified by obedience. Every prophet, every reformer, every messenger of light has faced the same battle. Darkness always tries to silence sound before it spreads. Pharaoh tried to suppress Moses. Jezebel tried to silence Elijah. Herod tried to silence John the Baptist. But heaven always amplifies what hell attempts to mute. That is what is happening to you now. The sound that the enemy tried to bury is rising unstoppable. You may wonder, what is my sound? It is your unique expression of obedience. For some, it is a literal voice speaking, teaching, singing. For others, it is creation, writing, building, designing, healing. Whatever form it takes, it carries the same essence, heaven's truth made audible through a human vessel. The sound of your rising is not prideful noise, it is prophetic resonance. It draws others out of despair the way a trumpet summons soldiers to battle. You will find that your sound carries familiarity to those who are meant to walk beside you. They will recognize it and rise too. Heaven orchestrates such harmonies, gathering the voices of the awakened to form a choir of restoration. Chosen one, there is a divine boldness being released within you. It is not arrogance, it is awareness. You finally see what you carry, and you refuse to hide it. That awareness is power. It shifts how you move, how you speak, how you perceive opposition. You are no longer reacting, you are releasing. Every step you take sends a spiritual frequency across the atmosphere, declaring, light is here. Do not fear the sound of your rising. Some will misunderstand it, others will resist it. But remember, light does not need permission to shine. It simply appears, and darkness must adjust. The same will be true of you. Your presence will begin to reveal hidden things, to expose falsehoods, to awaken dormant dreams. That's why your rising feels uncomfortable to some. It shakes what has been asleep too long. Chosen one. This sound will not just shift others, it will transform you. As you walk in obedience, your confidence will return, your joy will strengthen, and your peace will deepen. You will start to move with the rhythm of heaven itself. The same voice that once cried out in pain will now declare victory. The same hands that once trembled will now heal, build, and bless. The sound of your rising is not a moment, it's a movement. It will continue to grow, ripple, and multiply through everything you touch. And soon, the world will know that the one they thought was silent has become a messenger of fire. So, chosen one, lift your head. You are no longer hidden in the shadows of yesterday. The glory of the Lord rests upon you, and it will not be contained. When you move, the earth will hear the echo of heaven's decree. The chosen one has risen, and darkness has lost its grip. Chosen one, the season of hiddenness is coming to an end. You have walked quietly through shadows, unseen yet not unvalued, overlooked yet never forgotten. Heaven has been your secret audience, watching, shaping, testing, refining. Every hidden season has had a purpose to protect what was not yet ready to be revealed. And now, the divine clock strikes unveiling. Hiddenness is a sacred training ground. It teaches you to work without applause, to serve without spotlight, to trust without visible confirmation. It's where heaven separates performers from carriers, those who crave attention from those who carry anointing. You learn to move in silence, to fight battles no one saw, to weep where no one applauded your strength. Yet the very obscurity that once felt like punishment was protection. Heaven was covering you like a seed buried beneath soil. Chosen one, there are things that only grow in secret. Roots do not form in sunlight, they form underground, where no one is watching. If you had been exposed too soon, the weight of attention could have crushed your growth. But heaven is wise. It conceals until the time is safe. The sacred writings remind us through the words of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6. What is done in secret will be rewarded openly. That promise is now unfolding. The quiet sacrifices, the hidden prayers, the uncelebrated acts of obedience, they are rising as fragrance before God. Heaven is about to reward what history ignored. Every silent battle you won, every tear that watered the soil of your faith, every moment you chose integrity over influence, they are all converging into visible favor. Heavenly exposure is not fame, it is fulfillment. It's not about you becoming seen by crowds, it's about you being recognized by purpose. God is opening spaces, aligning connections, and creating platforms that match your preparation. You will not have to force your way into rooms. The rooms will call for you. You will not have to explain yourself. Your fruit will speak. But with exposure comes responsibility. Visibility magnifies both light and shadow. The same eyes that will celebrate you will also critique you. That is why heaven took so long to prepare you, so that your peace would not depend on people's opinions. You now know who you are, and no crowd can redefine you. Chosen one. This unveiling is different from worldly success. It carries weight, not glamour. It brings influence, not indulgence. You will shine, but not to blind others. You will shine to illuminate paths for those still walking in darkness. God is entrusting you with visibility as a weapon of hope. Your story will become a mirror through which others recognize their own potential. You will step into environments that once intimidated you, and you will realize they no longer hold power over you. The same rooms that rejected you before will now welcome you with honor. Doors that once stayed closed will swing open as if they were waiting for your arrival. That is how heaven orchestrates timing. It ensures that when the door opens, you are not desperate, but ready. Do not mistake this unveiling for coincidence. Every opportunity, every invitation, every moment of recognition has been prophetically timed. Heaven has synchronized your visibility with your maturity. The gift is now matched by character, and the platform is now balanced by humility. You are no longer the same person who entered the valley. You have become a vessel refined by fire. Still, even as exposure arrives, guard your spirit. Fame, in any form, is a fragile fire. It warms the called but burns the careless. Keep your gaze fixed on the one who lifted you. The secret to sustaining divine visibility is to remain hidden in God. If you stay rooted in His presence, the light around you will never dim, and no shadow will overtake you. Chosen one, remember that this moment is not about recognition for its own sake. It's about multiplication. When God exposes you, it's because there are people attached to your obedience. Your visibility becomes their invitation. You rise not just for yourself, but for the countless souls assigned to your light. And though the world will call it fame, heaven calls it fruit. Every testimony that emerges from your life will glorify God, not self. Every word you speak will become seed. Every act of faith will awaken someone else to courage. So, stand tall, but stay low in spirit. Shine brightly, but remember the soil that sustained your roots. You are not stepping into exposure for validation, you are stepping into it for impact. The same light that now shines upon you will soon reflect through you. Heaven is not just announcing your arrival, it is revealing your purpose to the world. The silence is over. The hidden season has completed its work. And now, with grace in your eyes and peace in your stride, you walk into the open, not to prove anything, but to embody everything you were created to be. Chosen one. The time has come to take hold of what heaven placed upon your head. The crown that once felt too heavy now rests perfectly, because the process has shaped your shoulders to carry it. The waiting, the breaking, the silence, all of it led to this. The moment you finally choose your crown, you may not have realized it, but the crown has been waiting for your yes. It was never denied to you, only delayed until your heart was ready. Heaven never places gold on unsteady heads. You had to be molded by humility, anchored by wisdom, and strengthened by surrender. Only then could you wear what was always yours. The Book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 11, bears this sacred reminder: hold fast what you have, that no one may take your crown. That crown is not made of metal or jewels, it is woven from your endurance. Every time you chose forgiveness instead of revenge, another gem was added. Every time you kept believing through pain, another strand of light was braided in. This crown carries your history, your perseverance, your obedience. It is the visible proof that you overcame what was meant to crush you. Chosen one. Wearing a crown is not about pride, it is about posture. It means walking in the awareness of heaven's authority without losing the tenderness of mercy. It means knowing that leadership is service and influence is stewardship. Your crown is not a trophy, it is a responsibility. Now that you wear it, you must protect it. The world will try to distract you with noise, attention, and temptation. People will try to pull at your focus. to make you forget what the crown represents. But crowns are kept not by strength, but by surrender. As long as you bow before God, nothing can remove what He placed upon you. The crown also changes how you see yourself. It lifts your gaze from the ground of past wounds to the horizon of divine assignment. It reminds you that you are no longer defined by who hurt you, but by who healed you. You are not the sum of your scars, you are the carrier of glory. You will notice that your steps feel different now. You walk not in desperation, but in direction. You speak not from emotion, but from wisdom. People will sense something different in you, a quiet confidence that does not demand attention, yet commands respect. That is the language of royalty. Chosen one. As you read these words, pause for a moment and feel the weight of what you carry. You have become living evidence that God restores what was once shattered. Your presence is a declaration of grace. When you step into a room, darkness remembers the sound of its defeat. You are heaven's reminder to earth that light still wins. And now, as your story continues to unfold, remember that the crown you wear is not only for you, it is for others who are still crawling through ashes, unaware that their own crown is being forged in the fire. When you shine, you give them permission to rise. That is why this space, the place where these words meet your soul, exists. It's not just a message, it's a movement of restoration. It's a table where weary hearts find light again. If these words have touched you, if they've reminded you that you are not forgotten, then help keep this light alive. When you like this message, you let heaven's echo travel further. Your simple act becomes a small spark in another soul's night. When you share, you build a bridge. Your courage carries someone else across their despair. When you subscribe, you choose to stay connected to this flow of truth, ensuring that every future message finds the ones still searching for hope. And if your heart feels stirred to donate, do it not out of pressure, but out of purpose. Think of your offering as oil poured upon the flame fuel that keeps the light burning for others still trapped in darkness. Every seed sown into this mission multiplies hope. It becomes part of the melody of redemption, a note that heaven hears and transforms into impact. Finally, take a moment to engage. Comment below your reflection, your gratitude, or even a single word that resonates with your journey. When you do, you add your voice to the chorus of chosen ones rising together. Your comment might be the very message someone else needs to read today. Chosen one, lift your head now, not in pride, but in recognition of purpose. The crown rests perfectly because you earned it through faith, not favor. You are no longer the one who crawled through ashes. You are the one who walks in anointing. And every step you take from this point forward declares one truth that cannot be undone. Your crown was not given by man, and therefore, no man can take it away. Chosen one. There are moments in time when heaven breathes so deeply through a life that generations feel its wind. You are stepping into one of those moments now. What you have carried privately, the lessons, the scars, the revelations, is not ending with you. It is multiplying. The announcement of your life will echo beyond your years, weaving itself into the fabric of others' deliverance. Every chosen one is a bridge between what was and what will be. You are that bridge. The road you've walked, paved with suffering and perseverance, is becoming the pathway for others to follow. What once felt like isolation is now illumination. The fire that once consumed you has become the torch you now hold high. The psalmist wrote these enduring words in the book of Psalms, chapter 100, verse 5. His faithfulness continues through all generations. That is the rhythm of your story. It doesn't end. It extends. God's faithfulness has been proven through you so that it can flow beyond you. The same grace that found you will find those connected to your light. Heaven is not simply announcing you anymore. It is announcing a lineage of purpose birthed through your obedience. Chosen one. Understand this mystery when God redeems a life. He redeems a bloodline. Every curse that tried to travel through your family ends with you. Every chain that held your ancestors is breaking under the weight of your yes. You are heaven's interruption to generational darkness. What was used to break those before you is now being transformed into the banner of deliverance for those after you. You have become a living prophecy. Every trial you overcame is now instruction for those who will come behind you. Your faith has turned into a manual. The words you speak will ripple through people you may never meet, shaping destinies you may never see. That is legacy, not fame, but fruitfulness. The pain that once silenced you is now preaching through your endurance. Your story has become a lighthouse for others lost at sea. Some will never know your name, but they will walk in the light your obedience released. You are heaven's generational echo, a voice that keeps speaking long after it falls silent on earth. Chosen one. That is why your process was so intense. Heaven was not preparing you for a moment, it was preparing you for impact. Generations cannot be shifted by shallow faith. The depth of your testing matched the depth of your calling. Every delay carved patience into your spirit. Every heartbreak expanded your capacity for compassion. Every wilderness taught you how to hear the still, small voice of God amidst the noise of time. Now, everything you've learned becomes inheritance. You will see it in the eyes of those you mentor, the children you raise, the souls you touch. They will not have to start from scratch because you paved the road with prayer. You carried the burden so they could carry the blessing. That is the cost and the reward of being chosen. There will come a day when someone, years from now, will tell their story and mention your influence. Even if your name is forgotten, they will say, "Someone once spoke words that changed how I saw myself." They will not know that those words were born from your nights of agony, from the prayers you whispered in the dark. Heaven knows. Heaven always keeps record of the seeds sown in silence. Chosen one. You are living proof that God writes beyond a single lifetime. His promises to you will not die with you. They will continue to unfold through those who carry your light. That's what it means to be part of a divine lineage. You are not just chosen for now, you are chosen for next. The battles you fought in secret have already written victory into the DNA of those who come after. The addictions you overcame have become armor for your descendants. The faith you cultivated will become their foundation. Even when you are gone, the echo of your obedience will continue to call people home to God. This is legacy, the kind heaven measures not by fame or numbers, but by transformation. Every healed heart, every awakened soul, every restored dream becomes another generation, singing the same song of faithfulness. Chosen one. Never underestimate the power of your yes. You may think you're just surviving, but heaven is recording history. Your endurance is not just saving you, it's saving nations within you. You are writing a chapter that future believers will stand upon. The echo of your name will live in the sound of their worship. The announcement of your life is not a moment of applause, it is an eternal ripple. The same God who whispered your calling in the dark is now releasing your legacy into light. Others will pick up your mantle. Continue your mission and carry your fire farther than you could have imagined. Your story will not end with a period. It will end with a continuation mark, because what God begins in one chosen one, He multiplies through many. Chosen one, you have reached the final stretch of this journey, the place where endings reveal themselves as beginnings. The dust has settled, the storms have passed, and what remains is truth. You were never broken beyond repair. Every crack in your heart has become a channel for glory to shine through. What the enemy used to break you has become the very instrument heaven uses to announce you. There is a holy stillness here, the kind that comes after a battle has been won. You feel it deep in your chest, the quiet pulse of victory. It's not loud or showy. It hums like peace, like a sunrise that doesn't need applause to declare its arrival. You are different now, not just healed, but transformed. The Apostle Paul wrote in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, "The sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us." That verse is no longer just scripture to you, it's testimony. The suffering you endured has been outmeasured by the glory now emerging from your life. Every tear, every ache, every night that felt endless has been converted into strength. The balance of heaven has shifted, and the weight of glory now outweighs the weight of pain. Chosen one, this is the revelation the enemy feared. You would find that the breaking was never the end. It was the unveiling. You were being shaped, not shattered. Heaven never abandoned you in the fire. It was refining your form. Like gold purified 7 times, you have emerged without the residue of what tried to consume you. You once asked, "Why me?" Now your spirit whispers back, "Because I was chosen." What once felt like punishment now looks like preparation. You see it clearly. Every delay hid direction. Every heartbreak held instruction. Every silence was sacred strategy. God was never late. He was precise. The pain that once defined you now bows to the purpose that crowns you. You carry within you both the scars of battle and the scent of victory. You are no longer the one who pleads for rescue. You are the one who carries rescue within your words. When you speak, chains tremble, because they recognize the voice of someone who has walked through darkness and found light. Chosen one. Take a moment and breathe. Feel how light you have become. The weights that once dragged behind you have turned to wings. The burdens that once suffocated you have become bridges for others. This is the paradox of grace. What once hurt you now heals others through you. Heaven is not simply restoring you, it is revealing you. There is a difference. Restoration returns things to their former state, but revelation unveils what they were always meant to be. You were never meant to go back to who you were before the pain. You were meant to rise as something new, stronger, softer, wiser, free. And now, as the glory unfolds, you will see divine symmetry everywhere. The very places where you wept will bloom with joy. The faces that turned away will witness your rising. The areas of lack will overflow, not because you chased revenge, but because you embraced redemption. Heaven exalts not the proud, but the persevering. The breaking gave you empathy. The waiting gave you wisdom, and the unveiling has given you authority. You are no longer running from your past, you are reigning over it. The same battlefield that once held your tears has become the platform for your testimony. Chosen one, look at yourself not through the mirror of memory, but through the lens of eternity. You are radiant now. You carry the marks of mercy, the fragrance of faithfulness, and the glow of glory. You walk not as a victim of circumstance, but as a vessel of victory. You are a living altar of proof that God wastes nothing. The story of your breaking has become heaven's megaphone. Every scar sings of survival. Every healed wound preaches restoration. You are no longer defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what was birthed through you. Soon, others will come to you, drawn by the light they cannot explain. They will ask, "How did you survive?" And your answer will not be complicated. You will simply smile and say, "Grace did this," and that truth will be enough to awaken faith in them too. Chosen one, the war is over. You stand crowned in the same field where you once fell. The air around you hums with divine completion. Heaven calls your name, not as a whisper of hope, but as a declaration of fulfillment. Walk forward now, not with haste, but with holy composure. The announcement has been made. The darkness has been silenced. You have become the living evidence of God's faithfulness. This is your glory after the breaking. And from this day forward, every step you take will echo one unshakable truth through eternity. What the enemy used to break you, God has used to announce you. Chosen one, you've reached the end of this divine journey. But the message does not end here. It continues through you. Every word you've absorbed, every whisper that resonated in your spirit, was heaven's way of preparing you to carry light into the dark corners of the world. You are no longer reading, you are becoming. Pause for a moment. Feel the stillness. The same presence that guided you through every section is resting upon you even now. It's gentle, yet powerful, a quiet flame reminding you that your story matters, that your obedience has meaning, and that your breakthrough carries purpose beyond your own life. You have walked through ashes and risen radiant. You have been broken and rebuilt. And now, as you stand crowned with understanding and grace, heaven invites you to let this light ripple outward. When you like this message, you're not simply reacting, you are helping it reach someone else who may be standing exactly where you once stood. Your single click becomes a spark in another person's darkness. When you share, you become a messenger. You extend this lifeline of hope across the oceans of despair, giving someone else a reason to breathe again. Every share is a silent sermon. Every repost an act of compassion. When you subscribe, you are choosing to stay connected, to keep walking within this stream of revelation, to remain part of a growing family of chosen ones who rise together, who believe together, who shine together. And when you comment below, let your words carry sincerity. Whether it's a simple, "I receive this," or "I'm ready for my next chapter," your voice matters. Someone reading your words might find the courage they've been praying for. You never know whose heart your testimony will unlock. This is how light multiplies, not through grand gestures, but through consistent faith. Together, we carry this flame forward. One act of obedience, one act of kindness, one shared message at a time. Chosen one, the journey continues through your voice, your story, your faith. The world is waiting for your light. Go, shine, and never forget you are chosen, crowned, and called to announce His glory.